Welcome to RPG Ranked, the channel where all your favorite RPGs are ranked.
What's cooking, y'all? Welcome to the tier list. I am Brighton Nelson from RPG Ranked, and I am here to present to you all of the characters ranked by how good they are to start with in Octopath Traveler. If you enjoy Octopath Traveler videos or other RPG videos, please be sure to check out the channel, because this is the first one, I think, but there's a bunch of Octopath 1 videos and Octopath 2 videos coming out in the next few weeks. And I hope you enjoy this video. Alright, just as a disclaimer, my information is on this top screen, so if I just start looking up, that is why I'm looking up to the heavens. So, let's get started. First we got Hikari, who is the warrior of this game. Sorry, I'm looking up to the heavens for this. So, I want to be ranking everyone by just their job, kinda, just, you know, some jobs are better than others. Their path actions, their talent, and their latent power. So those are the main factors of where I'm putting them on this list. And Hikari is going to be in B tier. He's pretty cool. He's pretty dang cool, honestly. I like him a lot better than I liked Ulbrich as a starting character, right? So here are some differences, right? So we have the differences in the abilities. And Ulbrich's main talent was, you can charge up your defense, right? If you haven't played the original Octopath Traveler, I'm sorry if I reference the game a lot, but I will be doing that because it's an easy way to compare, right? But Hikari is way better than Ulbrich in my opinion, because instead of having a boosted defend, which wasn't really that helpful, because getting a boosted defend using insight and a stout wall wasn't really worth it, because yes, you can be a cool tank, but most enemies have some sort of multi-target, most bosses, I guess, have a multi-target attack. So, right, having an ability that makes you get targeted and is strong wasn't that good in that game, because there wasn't a reason to do it. But in this game, there is a reason to do it, because you get some much better, cooler warrior abilities in this game. So instead of 1,000 spears, you have a multi-hit sword attack, which is nice. You can also get insight and stout walls much better in this game, because you get Vengeful Blade, which is a counterattack that will reduce the enemy's shield points no matter what. So if they hit you, you're reducing their shield point by 1 and doing damage. So that's cool. You also get Aggressive Slash, which hits you get multiple times, which seems to be the only ability other than Elemental Barrage that you get at least early in the game that hits for multiple attacks. So that is very good. We also get Enervating Blade, which does extra damage for each buff that the enemy has on themselves, which is very interesting, because you might want the enemies to buff themselves, which is very interesting. And it dispels all of their buffs as well. So that it's a very interesting concept, because it might be good for enemies to buff themselves, depending on how powerful that ability is. It could just be weak and it won't be good. But what's cool about Hikari is, first of all, you get that counterattack ability, so it's worth using the insight ability. And second of all, we get the epic talent, learned skill. So when you challenge people in this game, instead of knocking them out, or maybe you do knock them out, I can't remember, but you challenge them, and after you beat them, you learn a skill from them. And it's not like Guide or Allure where you summon them and then they'll just leave or whatever. No, you learn their skill. It's like blue magic, right? So, you can get all these different skills, and it makes so Hikari can hit for different, elemental, different weapon types. It's epic. It's really cool. So he has a lot of versatility there. The only problem, so he has some nice abilities. The warrior is still one of the weaker classes in this game, although that counterattack will be cool. Still one of the weaker classes, though, I feel like. But his talent is one of the better ones. The learned skill talent is very good. And the Latent Power is a powerful ability, but I feel like it isn't close to as versatile as some other ones, because you can either hit for a powerful sword attack, you can hit for a double hit sword attack that gives you an extra turn, which is actually really good. And then you can also hit a sword and spear attack that hits everybody. So I feel like that would be really good at first, but I feel like as you progress through the game, there will be better abilities than that. So I think that might not be the best Hikari might not be the best character to keep in your party because of his latent power won't be as powerful as some other ones. And as much as the challenge and learn skill ability is going to be very good, is awesome, his bribe ability is one of the worst path actions in the game. Why should I pay someone to tell them information if I can just scrutinize them and maybe have to pay some money at the tavern? But paying money at the tavern, you get 5 chances. Scrutinize has a high percent work rate, I guess. I'm trying to think of a better word. Success rate, there we go. And you can either pay money up front or you can have a slight chance of having to pay money. So bribe is not very good. So overall, the skills of Hikari are really cool. I think that the warrior is much more interesting in this game. Not sure if I would say better, but definitely more interesting. His learned skill is one of the better talents of the game. And his path action, one of them is great and one of them is terrible. So, and the latent power is iffy. Like, it seems like it'll be good for at least a good portion of the game, but maybe by the time you're done with all the chapter 4 and you're trying to, like, having Hikari locked in your party might not be the best idea. So I'm putting him in B tier. Maybe we'll learn more as we play the game more, but I think that Hikari right now is not going to be the best character to start with. Yeah. So let's move on to the next character, which is Agnea. Agnea, I am going to put right behind Hikari, actually. The dancer in this game is awesome. Honestly, I think the dancer is much cooler in this game than in the original Octopath. So, instead of having dark magic, you get wind magic, which definitely fits more with Agnea's personality because she's totally, like, happy, unlike Primrose, right? So you lose the dark magic, but you get wind magic. And they also keep Lion Dance, Peacock Strut, and Bewildering Grace. But we get some awesome new abilities. You get a multi-target knife attack. You get a much better speed buff. It's much better than Panther Dance because it moves people up. So per boost, like, you can move people up to 4 times in the turn order, which can be pretty powerful. And then you also get a powerful single target knife attack that guarantees a shield point depletion, which is like Hikari's ability, but better because you don't have to rely on a counterattack. So you get, like, these buffing abilities, great support abilities, but you also get some actually good attacking abilities, and you get wind magic. So I think the Dancer is definitely more versatile in this game. So I think that Dancer is going to be a really good job, actually. And then we get Agnea's... Sorry, again, I'm looking up. I just started... Like, we just got all this information and stuff. I played through the demo. I made sure I used most of my time just getting a good feeling of all these characters. So that's what I was using most of my time on the demo on. And I'm just... All my notes are up here. I'm trying my best. Anyway, let's talk about our path actions, right? So our first one is Entreat, which once you get to a certain level, you can, like, flirt with the townspeople to the point they just give you the items, which is actually epic, except by the time you actually get to the level that those items are going to be useful, I don't think that it'll be worth it because you could have just stealed it from them, you could have mugged it from them, or you could have purchased it from them. I really don't think... I think Entreat's one of the weakest path actions, but yeah, I don't really think that that's great. However, Allure is really cool in this game because not only when you summon them in battle are they helping you out, but when you use or getting side quests done with the Allure command, you also get buffs to your dances via the dance session ability. So basically, depending on who you've allured, you get better dances. And since you're going to be using those dance abilities, like, all the time, that's going to be epic. Like, that, I don't know, that might be better than learned skill, and Hikari might be worse than Agnea. I'm not sure at the moment what implications that's going to have on the game. So maybe Dance Session will end up being one of the best, but from what I used, it wasn't quite as good as being able to challenge people and learn their skills. So we'll see about that one. But yeah, Allure is much better than Guide because of that dance session ability. Temenos' Guide is pretty weak. You get, with Hire, you get business partners, so that's going to be... I'll talk about that later, but that's pretty good. But Befriend is also not very good because you have to use items. So I think Allure is personally the best, like, getting people to join your party. Like, I think Allure is going to be the best version of that. And then, the coolest part about Agnea, Dance Session is awesome, but her latent power is basically Sealtage's Seduction. I don't even know if I pronounced that right. Sealtage's, wow, I'm not even going to try. Seduction from the original Octopath Traveler, which means any of your abilities, as long as they don't target, they're not divine skills, or they don't target yourself, you can use on the whole party, right? There are some really good abilities in this game that can hit the whole party. So we get some of those cleric skills, Prayer to the Flame, which boosts your elemental defense and your physical defense. So using that on the whole party could just make you completely, like, impervious to attacks. Then you get Sacred Shield, which takes off 50% of damage one time or whatever. If you fully boost that and then use her latent power altogether now, your whole party is getting like 4 turns of 50% damage reduction. That is insane. Then you can also get, you can use the Thief's Dark Magic on everyone, or the Wind Magic on everyone, right? Because in this game, there aren't all targeting dark and wind spells yet that I know of. There probably is going to be later, but you also don't get that immediately, so being able to do that with Agnea is very good. And then some of the debuffs like Leghold Trap, Baiting Orb, Shackle Foe, this other one called Armor Corrosive, being able to use that on the whole enemy party will also be awesome. So basically, if you dance, you're going to get, if you use one of the dance abilities with the latent power and all together now, you're getting some insane stuff. And I think that this works much better as like a latent power limit break type thing than a divine skill. And I think that Agnea is going to be one of the best characters at some point in this game. But I also, like I said, the dance session, I'm not sure quite how good that is yet. I didn't really use it as much as I should have. And Hikari is more reliable with the learned skills because you can literally learn like skills from any other character. Like Agnea can't quite do that, as it's not quite as good. So these two are very close in how good they are. I'm going to be like, yeah, these are pretty close. I would, either way, I think they're both great characters to start with. And when I'm putting these two in B tier, it means some of these other characters are broken as heck. But like, yeah, being able to use a ton of different abilities and being able to have that amazing latent power and that cool dance session ability, these guys are both awesome. Alright, I've been talking a lot about these characters, so let's move on to Castti. I'm just so excited for this game, so I want to rant about it, right? Castti is going to be an A tier because Alphen was amazing in the first game with Concoct. I'm assuming Concoct is also going to be amazing in this game, especially with the latent power, every drop counts, where you don't actually consume the items that you are using with Concoct. So basically, so far, she just seems like a better version of Alphen because the apothecary skills are much better in this game, and she can use Concoct without spending items. And Alphen was an amazing character in the first game. The only problem is right when you start, you don't have a bunch of you don't have a bunch of items for Concoct. So the apothecary starts as one of the weaker characters. That's why she isn't an S tier, is because you don't have a big stockpile of items to originally use Concoct. But since you always want an apothecary in your party, you always want either Alphen in the first game or Castti in your party because of how powerful the Concoct ability is. It's totally fine to have them locked in your party. Just I didn't put them in put Castti in S tier since you won't have access to a ton of good Concoct abilities early in the game. Let's talk about other things other than her latent power and her talent. We have her path actions, which are both pretty dang mid. Soothe, I feel like it'll be very situational. I think beating people up is usually going to be a better way of getting them out of the way than putting them to sleep or whatever. I do really like the animation of putting them to sleep. It looks hilarious, and the whole idea that you're putting people to sleep so that you can walk into their house and steal their stuff is hilarious. But especially when everyone here is like trying to like save the world and stuff, so I think it's hilarious. But and then the Inquire ability is I've never liked the Inquire ability better than Scrutinize. I mean, like at the end of the game when you're just trying to finish a bunch of early game side quests, Inquire is better, but Scrutinize isn't even that hard to use. I've never seen something below a 25%, maybe like 15%, but it's usually a pretty high chance to scrutinize someone, and having to level up takes forever, so I don't really like Inquire. So Inquire and Soothe are very mid-path actions, so I don't think that those are great, but because of the Concoct ability, I think that's enough to put her in A tier, honestly. But the other cool thing is the Apothecary is just completely upgraded in this game. So with one ability, you can heal and revive. So it's basically Vivify plus First Aid combined, which is awesome. Then you can grant regeneration, like the Star Seer in the first game. What is it? The Celestial Healing? Something like that. That's not what it's called, honestly. I have no idea what it was called, because I didn't like that ability. But basically, you can cast Regen on a character. You can have them regenerate health, which is probably not that good, but it'll be nice early in the game. Then, instead of having Amputate, which does a bunch of damage, it combined Amputate and Empoison. So now you're doing a ton of damage with an axe and poisoning the enemy. And Poison is broken in this game. So that's insane. And you can also make the enemy weak to poison with the, you guessed it, weak to poison ability, which means you're going to be doing a lot of damage and a lot of healing as an Apothecary, and Castti just seems like such a good character. I would have her in S tier, however, the lack of ingredients to concoct with at the very beginning of the game is holding her back as an A tier character. When it comes to throughout the game, she might end up in S tier, but I'm not sure yet. Obviously, I've only done a little bit of I've only battled a little bit in this game. Only went to a few different towns. I mean, I went to all 8 of the towns where these people come from. But other than that, I only went to a few towns. Other than that, and yeah. So we have some awesome Apothecary abilities. The Concoct ability is also awesome. Her path actions aren't that great. Her Latent Power is one of the weaker ones. However, I think she is definitely an A tier character because she's powerful with those Concoct and her Apothecary skills. Anyway, I've been ranting. Let's move on to Partito, which is also an A tier. First of all, props to this dude for being way cooler than Tressa. Tressa's like, I'm going to explore and I'm going to sell stuff and get some money. No, this dude is like a cowboy guy who wants to save the world from poverty. I am so excited for this dude's story. His hat and his smile are also the most Giga Chad thing I've ever seen. I'm so excited for this guy. But anyway, I do not need to talk about how I'm excited for Partito's story. I need to talk about how good he is in this game. So, first of all, I'm going to start in a weird order. I'm going to talk about business partners first, because this is hilarious. He's like, well, you know what? My talent is going to be business partners. So in the first game, Tressa just finds money all over the place, and it's kind of unbelievable that you just find 10,000 leaves laying on the floors at some point. But here, you have to hire people, and then they give you boosts. So you have to actually think like a CEO here. You got to be like, oh, well, if I hire this person, will it be an effective use of money and stuff? And it's actually really interesting. So you hire people, they give you bonuses and stuff, and you can also use them in battle, like a lure and guide and befriend. But honestly, that's not as cool as the fact you can get buy things for cheaper and stuff. So I'm hoping that business partners ends up being a really good talent. From what I saw, it wasn't usually worth the leaves unless you were about to go to a store and just buy 10 different things. But we'll see. It could be an amazing ability. But so hire is pretty nice, and purchase I assume is actually going to be pretty good, because in the first game there were a lot of items, all the forbidden equipment you could only purchase, you couldn't steal it. So purchase and hire seem to be pretty good path actions, not like the best path actions, but pretty good ones. So I'm excited for that. Then we got his Latent Power, which gives you all your BP, 5 BP, not even 3, not 4, not 2, not 1, 5. I think this might end up being the best latent power in the game. Being able to instantly get all your BP at the beginning of battle or right after you just use a powerful attack and you get all your BP right back. That's insane. Large energizing pomegranates only give 3. Revitalizing jam, which is really rare, gives you 5 BP. Like, that's not easy stuff to come across. And yet Partito can just, get hit a couple times and now you got that ability. So that's pretty insane. Now, there are a couple things that are even more insane, honestly, than the 5 BP thing. And we'll get to that. So the merchant class, for the most part, isn't that changed. Instead of wind magic, you get a JP boosting bow attack where you hit someone and depending on how much damage you do, it gives you JP, which could be really, really good for grinding. So far, I've only got like 4 GP. That was like the max I got from doing damage. But also, I had a really bad bow on. Basically, the equivalent of the makeshift bow is pretty terrible. So, and you also have fire magic instead of wind magic. So it got rid of the 2 wind magic abilities and it gave you that bow attack and fire magic. That's it. That's all that has changed when it comes to the abilities. But hired help has also changed a ton. So in the original game, hired help, you get a sword attack that also boosts your defense, a dagger attack that hits all enemies and inflicts a random status ailment, a light attack that hits all enemies multiple times, I think, maybe. I could be wrong. Not sure about that one. And then you get a really powerful sword attack, and I think you get an axe attack. That could be wrong. I might be missing one of them. But, like, it's basically just different types of breaking people, right? And it's nice. My favorite one is honestly the first one that boosts the defense of your whole party, and the last one, which does a ton of damage. But in this game, hired help is even better. It's actually insane. So you get one. Here are all the effects you can do with hired help. I'm just going to read them all off. Buff the defense of the entire party. Hit the entire enemy party with staves. Hit the entire enemy party with swords. You can hit the entire enemy party for guaranteed shield breaks. All of the enemies. And it's only like 800 leaves or something. That's going to be a broken ability. Reduce the attack and defense of all foes. That's like armor corrosive. That's like 2 Agnea Latent Powers right there. Armor corrosive and shackle foe on everybody. That's insane. For one thing. It lowers the attack and defense of all foes. For like 3,000 leaves or something. Raise the elemental attack of all allies. So basically Peacock, Strut, and all together now. Restore people's SP. Delay enemy actions. And the last one hits enemies with multiple different weapon types, which is basically like Winhild's battle cry in the first game. This is broken hired help. It's absolutely cracked. The only reason I don't have Partito in S tier is because I doubt you're going to be just grinding out leaves to be able to use higher power at the beginning of the game. But Partito's, like, Merchant is easily, I mean, it was already amazing in the first game, but I think that Merchant is going to be an S tier class. Okay, maybe not S tier. There's some really good secret jobs that I assume there's going to be some really good secret jobs. Hoping there's more than 4 in this game. But I think hired help is going to be one of the best abilities in the game now. But that's just me. Like, being able to do all that stuff, though, puts Partito in A tier for me. And I think that leaves are going to be easier to come across than ingredients at the very beginning of the game. Because, I don't know. If you really are doing your good hiring well, getting your business partners all set up and stuff, I think you'll be able to get some good leads for hired help. But honestly, I'm so excited for Partito. Everything about this guy is amazing. And everything about all these guys are amazing. I would say only 2 characters in this game that I'm not so excited to play as, because we get epic hired help, we get business partners, we get 5 BP, we get concoct for free, we get putting people to sleep and stealing their stuff. We get epic poison abilities. We get learning whatever the heck you want to learn. And epic counterattacks and enervating blade and all that shiz. And then we get using stuff on the whole party and dance sessions. Like, all this is so cool. And even cooler than that is Osvald's story arc. Oh my gosh. I started with Osvald. I think he is the best starting character in Octopath 2. And not because I just started with him. That would be a very stupid reason. I'm like, guys, just listen to me because I'm the almighty. No. I think he is going to be the best starting character because he is the only character that's actually good at hitting elemental weaknesses. Because we don't get multi-target wind magic. We don't get multi-target dark magic. We don't get multi-target light. No, we get... Never mind. We get multi-target light magic. That's good. But that's not stuff that's easy access in this game. And you also don't get multi-target like anything. I mean, multi-hit anything. The only things that are multi-hit are Osvald's Elemental Barrage and what was this called? Hikari's... Was it not Vengeful Blade? It was Aggressive Slash. Those are the only multi-hit abilities so far. And Aggressive Slash could probably will miss kind of often. Maybe not though. It only hits 3 times, so maybe not. But geez, Osvald here, it's crazy. So let's get into some of his perks here. First of all, start with his path actions. Mug and Scrutinize, 2 of the best path actions in the game. Mug, you beat them up and you get all of their items. All of them. And Osvald is pretty easy to beat people up with as long as you have SP restoring items. Because he does a ton of damage. By far the most damage of any of these characters, right? So he has 3 weaknesses he can expose. Fire, lightning, and ice. As well as staff. So he gets 4 weaknesses right off the bat, right? Nobody else can do that except for, I mean, if you use learned skills or a guide or a lure or whatever. But just base class, he gets 4 staves and those 3 elements, right? And the Scholar is very interesting in this game, though, because we get... I was talking about the path actions, and I suddenly really moved on. Let's go back to the path actions really quick. I'm getting too excited here. Mug, yeah, you can get everything from everyone, and Scrutinize is just as good as always. It's the best way to get information, right, in this game. And yeah, Mug is just... Steel is more convenient if you're not powerful enough to beat up enemies for Mug, but I think Mug is a more fun ability, and I think that it's nice to just get all their items in a quick battle. Anyway, now let's go back to the new Scholar abilities. So, we get, instead of level 2 magic that hits twice, we only have level 1 magic, but it's also more powerful. So that's interesting. So you might be like, oh, the Scholar is even worse in this game. Don't worry, it isn't. Then we have Elemental Barrage, which hits 3 times. Or more, depending on how much you boost it or whatever. And that's really good for breaking enemies. And it's an amazing, amazing attack against bosses or single targets. It does huge damage. Then you can also, you get the Advanced Magic ability, which after you use it on someone, it lets them cast the spell. When you cast an elemental spell, it hits twice. And though that sounds weaker than the Scholar in the first game. First of all, the level 1 magic is much more powerful in this game, but also the advanced magic, you can use it on other people so that they can do twice as many hits with their magic. So the dark magic, the wind magic, you can have double hits on that. And I'm assuming that there's going to be some reason to use the Scholar later for this, because of some secret job or whatever, that, I'm thinking maybe one of the secret jobs will get a sorcerer type thing that can't hit multiple times unless you use the Scholar as well. I'm thinking that they did this to make the Scholar more useful and not less useful. And then another ability, they have Analyze, which is amazing as always, and Stroke of Genius, which gives a character 2 random stat buffs, which you're probably like, it's random, but also it's 2 stat buffs at a time. That's pretty dang good. Not as good as Dance Session, but pretty dang good. So it seems like Scholar is not only a black mage, but also a pretty good support character. So this is awesome. And Elemental Barrage is a multi-target attack that can't miss, which is awesome. So yeah, we got some really cool Scholar abilities. He does a ton of damage. We got some great path actions, 2 of the best in the game. And then we get his talent Study Foe, which is just as good as in the first game, but actually even better. every battle you get one weakness of every. You get to see one weakness from every enemy, which is so helpful. Without that, it's really hard to figure out what enemies are weak to without just guessing, and by that point the enemies are like beating you up and stuff. That's really good. And you have Analyze, so without a Scholar it's hard to actually kill enemies without just guessing and checking. So I think Osvald is definitely someone you want to have in your party because of his super high damage and his ability to find weaknesses. But if you fight a battle against an enemy for the second time, it reveals 2 more weaknesses. At least that's what I think is happening. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I think that's what's happening. Pretty sure that's what it says in his description too. So it reveals 2 weaknesses on the second battle, which is awesome. And I think my guess is subsequent battles keep revealing 2, because some of those enemies have like 5 weaknesses, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it's like basically a requirement to have Osvald or at least a Scholar in your party so you can get those weaknesses, or to have a game guide. But there's no game guides for this game yet because it's so new. So Andy shouldn't be relying on a game guide anyway. Anyway, last is his Latent Power, which is basically Aliphan's Enlightenment from the first game. You deal double damage to your spells, but it only hits on. But it makes multi-target spells hit one person. This does a ton of damage. This is the best way to deal damage early in the game, and that's why you definitely want him to be your starting character. You always want him in your party anyway because he reveals weaknesses and does a ton of damage, right? Single target, it doubles the amount of damage. You full boost. You get like Peacock Strut on Osvald. He's going to be your best damage dealer for quite a while. I don't think that his Latent Power is going to be as good as like Throné, Agnea's, Temenos, or Partito's later in the game. But at first, it's an amazing thing to start with. Like, Concentrate Spell is very powerful. And I definitely think that you should start with Osvald or pick him up really early. Anyway, Osvald has some of the best path actions, the best damage of any early character. You really want to study foe abilities so you can actually hit weaknesses, and you want to be able to hit fire, lightning, and wind attacks. Not wind, lightning and ice attacks. I don't know why I said wind. Otherwise, you're going to have to be picking up a bunch of learned skills with Hikari to hit those elemental things, or capturing beasts with Ochette. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But yeah, you definitely should have Osvald in your party. And I'm totally fine if you don't agree that he's the best, but he's up there. He's one of the best. Alright, Temenos is C tier for sure. Ophelia wasn't the greatest starting character in the first game either. I think starting with a cleric, you're like, oh, well, having a cleric in your party is amazing. It's a healer. But the apothecary is honestly a better healer. And, heck, once we get secondary jobs, give Agnea cleric, and you can use those insane cleric defense boosting abilities on everyone. Honestly, Temenos is not really doing all that great here. So, cleric is cool in this game. They're not as good as healing, actually, because they don't have heal more. They only have heal wounds, which is interesting, because the apothecary just is a better healer. But you also have access to other abilities that make the cleric more like whereas like dancers are more like, oh, we're gonna buff your attack, your speed. Clerics are like, we're a defensive character, and the apothecary is more like the healer in this game, so that's interesting. So now they're more of a light mage defensive support character than a healer, it seems like. And they also have they have the SP steal from the first game. So it's great to have a cleric have like the Scholar, because they can hit twice with staves while stealing SP, and then they can use magic the next turn. So the cleric abilities are awesome in this game. Not as good as the apothecary abilities or anything, for the most part. Those 2 defensive abilities are insane though. But Temenos doesn't have anything that makes him a much better cleric than if we gave like Agnea or Osvald the cleric job. There's not anything that's making Temenos a more convincing cleric than those ones. Where like Castti is an apothecary, we got Concoct. As a merchant, he gives you more money, Partito. As a warrior, you're getting skills that make you broken. Agnea, when you use dances, it makes you even better. Osvald, as a scholar, you're getting insane access to dealing double damage, right? Temenos' latent power lets you break people with whatever ability you're using, which Temenos getting multi-target attacks later in the game, I feel like he's going to end up becoming one of the best characters later, but as a starting character, his latent power is terrible, because the only things he can break people with are staves and light magic, which are both single target. The only thing I can think of being good is using that like steel SP knockoff, I can't remember what it's called, against someone weak to staves and hitting someone not weak to staves and hitting them twice. But hitting them twice isn't really even that good anyway. I don't know. Giving Temenos warrior or cleric for elemental barrage could be good. But yeah, you have to wait for secondary jobs for that. But if it were just that latent power, I'll wait for a secondary job, right? But he's not as good as a healer as Castti anyway, so... And giving cleric to someone else is going to be better anyway. So, first of all, his latent power is pretty bad, and cleric isn't really the best class in this game, from what it seems like, and it seems better to have a secondary job. But guess what? His talent and his path actions are both bad as well. Yay. Not bad enough to put him in D or F tier, but they're still pretty bad. So his path actions, guide, which is literally the worst path action in this game. Allure gives you access to dance session. Hire gives you access to business partners. Befriend lets you, it's not, befriend isn't really that good either, but since you're auto capturing a bunch of enemies, you might as well cook them and guarantee someone to join your party. Like, befriend isn't that bad. And since Ochette is already summoning a bunch of beasts, she might as well summon humans too. That's kind of cool. But guide, you have to wait ages to be able to recruit them, because you have to wait for you to be at high enough level. And it's not like guide is giving you any extra special talent or something. It's just guiding people. Like, the only reason I see guide being better is like late game, you're just trying to get people guided so you can do side quests. That's the only time I think guide is going to be better. Guide sucks. Then we have his other one, which is coerce, which is, I will admit, I don't coerce. Is that how you pronounce that word? I'm not sure. Coerce? I don't know. But, it's cool. It's really cool because you go into battle, and if you break an enemy, that's what, once you break the enemy, then you get information from them, which I think will be one of the better ones later in the game. At the start of the game, Temenos doesn't have anything good enough to actually be able to break people, because he has staves and light magic. So I do think that his latent power will fit well with coerce, because if you go into that battle with a latent power and then you hit them with that staff ability, that's breaking them twice. Honestly, that's still really not enough. And you could just scrutinize them and maybe have to pay the tavern keeper, but that's already a stretch. So yeah, I don't know. His path actions are pretty bad, and on top of all that, he has my least favorite talent in the game, Moonlight Judgment. It debuffs enemies, blinding them and lowering their defenses at the start of a battle. So you're like, that's dang good, but it only works at night. Day enemies are easier, so basically all this does is it makes night enemies as weak as day enemies. But you can fight day enemies as much as you want. You just press ZR and you're back at daytime. So, I mean, maybe later in the game when you get, like, really unique enemies to steal from or capture. But early in the game, there wasn't really anything that was worth going into nighttime for. So, I don't know. This talent is not one that you want stuck in your party all the time. So, honestly, you don't want this weak cleric dude with like bad abilities to be stuck in your party all the time. I put him in C because I know he's going to be a really good character later in the game because of his latent power. Because later in the game there will probably be some enemies worth blinding and lowering their defenses, right? And I think that Coerce will get much better later on in the game. I think Guide is going to suck no matter what, but Coerce is going to be better later in the game once he actually gets access to a lot of breaking abilities. But overall, Temenos is the weakest character, for sure. You don't want him stuck in your party. Please don't choose him. Yeah. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm excited for his story, but please just don't start with him. Alright, now we have Ochette, Ochette. I don't know how you pronounce her name. So let's just move on. First of all, I think it's cool that she is the first non-human character in Octopath. In the Octopath series. That is awesome. And I love the new Hunter abilities. And basically everything about her character. I'm not going to put her as high as Osvald because study foe and really good path actions, but she's amazing. Her path actions aren't as good as Osvald. First of all, her befriend path action is one of the weaker ones. I think that Allure and Higher are just much better. And Provoke is a really good one since the best thing about capture in this game is there's a 25% you'll instantly capture an enemy no matter what if you kill them with Ochette. That's insane. Because some enemies it's like a 1% capture rate with capture. But if you just kill them, there's a 25% chance you'll capture them. So unless you're fighting really rare enemies like Kate's, you can just battle over and over again until you find these stronger enemies and capture them by killing them with Ochette. That's insane, first of all. But since you're instantly capturing enemies no matter what you do when you're fighting battles, Provoke is a much better ability in this game than it is in the first game. Because in the first game, I just wanted to challenge people because I didn't want to go out of my way and capture beasts. But in this game, Provoke is amazing. And she has access to, like, Lind in the first game had a all-hit sword attack and a one-hit spear attack. You get a pick between two and you can't change it. But you either get to pick a beast that hits one of their elemental weaknesses or one of their physical weaknesses, no matter what. That is an insane thing. So having auto capture and having that makes Provoke a really good path action. So Befriend kind of sucks, but Provoke is really good. Yeah, so basically, I think the Osvald has like everything about him is good. I can't think of anything that is bad except Concentrate Spell will probably be a bit weaker later in the game. And I can say that Befriend is bad, and that's why she isn't on the top. But other than that, let's talk about everything else that's good about her. Actually, no, one more thing that's bad about her. Her latent power is pretty weak. It's not bad. It's great at dealing damage, but I know it's going to be like the worst. I'm pretty positive it's going to be the worst latent power in the game later. Because she goes into her like beast mode or whatever. Kind of like Sveta in Golden Sun, Dark Dawn, or Vincent in Final Fantasy VII. But you can hit one enemy with strong attack, hit all enemies with attack, or I think there's one more that I can't remember. But I don't think that they break anyone with shield, like hit any shield points. I think they're just attacks that don't have an element. Maybe they do, maybe I can't remember. But it just isn't as versatile as ones that like Throné gives you a second turn, or he gives you 5 BP. Or you can use something on everyone, or I think there are like, or he can hit anyone and break down their shields. Like I think that potentially hers might be better than Cassti's and Osvald's, but other than that, she has a weak latent power, and I thought it was the worst one out of the ones I've used so far, except for Temenos's, but that'll get better as it goes on. But anyway, let's talk about the Hunter abilities real fast and then get into her amazing capture talent. So instead of having Rain of Arrows or Arrow Storm, she has Precise Shot, and it hits enemies twice, but you get to pick which 2 enemies it hits, which is really cool. You get to select multiple enemies, but when you boost it up, I think that's 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you get to hit 5 times, and you get to pick the enemies. So you could hit, let's say I want to hit one enemy twice, and it the other 3 enemies once. Or it can hit one enemy 5 times and just break them. It's awesome. Precise Shot is actually one of the best. I forgot about that when I was mentioning multi-target abilities. Precise Shot is going to be really good. Then you get an Axe ability that after hitting, you buff yourself, depending on what enemy it is. There's going to be a lot of different buffs you can give yourself. Abating Orb, it nullifies an enemy's beneficial status effects. It's not as good as Enervating Blade, because that nullifies all of them. But Abating Orb, I still see that being good. And we still have Take Aim, Mercy Strike, Thunderbird, and Like Hold Trap from the first game. And Like Hold Trap is just as broken as ever. The Hunter is amazing in this game. I think it's even better than it was in the first one. But I'm not sure yet. But Capture is definitely better than the first game. 25% to instant capture, like I said. Captured enemies don't leave you unless you release them. From what I've read on the Square Enix site. I don't remember if I read that wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read that right. I'm like 95% positive. So you just have to get rid of ones that you don't want anymore. They stay with you though. And on top of that, her default creatures are so much better than Lind was in the first game. And you can cook your enemies into items and get cool items. And you can befriend people with that. It's insane. The biggest weakness is that you can't choose who the beast is going to hit, which is kind of stupid. But she's the only character who I think is just going to have access to every attack from the get-go. Just depending on who you capture, you can hit all element physical weaknesses. You can hit those weaknesses, their default ones and stuff. And I think Ochette is so close to being the best character. But I think that without being able to reveal weaknesses at all times, I don't think that Ochette is quite as good as Osvald. But these two are very hard to place. Like, I don't know which one is better. And these two also, it's a hard pick. These two, a hard pick as well. So, really, the tiers, you could swap them, and I wouldn't care. Like, they're basically the same, in my opinion. So, Osvald or Ochette, S tier. These two, A tier. These two, B tier, right? Okay, Throné. This is weird. I don't really know where to put her. I think I'm putting her in B tier right here. I think that these 3 are pretty interchangeable when it comes to... She's not as bad as Temenos, honestly, but I would say she is the weakest in B tier. So Throné is cool, right? But the Thief is not the same in this game, which obviously I wanted there to be different abilities, right? But so much of the Thief's core mechanic was to steal SP and then share it to people and overcharge their SP gauge so they could keep casting spells. And, yeah, that is all gone. There's no SP steal, there's no SP share anymore. We still do have HP Thief, which is honestly a pretty weak ability, except for in the early game. So I guess that's nice. I'm going to miss this Thief having Steal SP, though, for sure. You also get a speed buff, but it's not as good as the Dancer speed buff, so that's kind of stupid. You have Dark Magic instead of Fire Magic, which, since the Thief is the only class with Dark Magic so far, that's pretty nice. So you want to have someone as a Thief in your party. Even though I'd say the Thief is probably the weakest job in this game, from what it seems like so far. They still have Armor, Corrosive, and Shackle Foe, but that Hired Help ability does both of those to everybody for a pretty cheap cost, so I don't really know. I don't think that the Thief is going to be that great anymore. I think that the best thing about them is the Surprise Attack ability, which is a single target sword attack that the earlier you go in the turn, the more damage it does. And if you really get your speed stat up, you can probably deal huge single target damage to that ability. I'm excited for the implications of that ability. It seems like it'll be pretty broken. But other than that, the Thief is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Everything else is mostly outclassed except for the fact they have Dark Magic and, yeah, Surprise Attack. So I'm kind of worried about the Thief in this game. This is kind of depressing, but I'll miss Therion. As a character, heck no, but I'm going to miss Therion. Now let's move on to her path actions. She has Ambush, which is the same as Ulbricht's challenge from the first game. You just beat someone up. And then you get Steel, which is really good. Although Osvald's mug is better in certain situations, Steel is always great. It's just, like, worst case, you have to pay off the Tavern Keeper or reload the game. Like, you can get insane equipment early on, so Steel is pretty good. Probably, I think it's not my favorite, most fun path action in the game, but I still think it is the best path action. So that is a really good plus for Throné. But Ambush is not nearly as good as Provoke, so that's not great. But yeah, Provoke is just great in this game because of Ochette's auto capture. Then she has Throné's talent, which she cannot open purple chests. There are no purple chests in this game, and I'm not complaining. Those are kind of annoying. But we get Blessing of Darkness, which is basically Temenos' ability, except you're buffing your party. Like I said, early in the game, just go back to daytime and fight day monsters. Later in the game, there might be some epic monsters at night, who knows. But this is one of the weakest talents at this point in the game. Not a big fan of the ability. Seems like kind of a lazy ability. I don't know. I feel like they could have done something way more interesting with the talents. But now, all of that's all nice, right? But the Thief kind of sucks. And basically the best thing about Throné so far is Steel. What is actually saving her from being in C tier is that she has the best latent power. 2 turns. She gets to go twice. Just go twice, right? I think, yeah, Hikari, I think, has access to that. So maybe I'm just goofing off, but I think that Hikari's, it gives you an extra turn next turn, whereas Throné, you get it right away. Anyway, this is an insane latent power, though, either way. Once you get divine skills and the secret jobs, Throné is probably going to be the best character in the game. Being able to go twice, what the heck? Like, Alfric's Allspices was already broken as heck in the first game, and that just duplicates your your skill. Like, if I casted Heal More, it just casts Heal More twice. This lets you choose 2 different abilities. That is very powerful. No matter where you are in the game, I think it's going to be amazing. So overall, Throné is pretty weak, but that latent power definitely puts her in B tier right away. Like, other than that, Steel and her latent power are why she's in B tier. Honestly, if she didn't have such a good latent power or Steel, she'd be worse than Temenos, because the Thief is pretty dang bad. But because of those abilities, she's a B tier character, and eventually I think she'll be an S tier character, like, for sure. But anyway, thank you guys all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below what your thoughts so far are on these characters. Please check out some more Octopath Traveler 2 videos and Octopath Traveler 1 videos and other RPG videos. Even before the normal game releases, I am also coming out with the Path Actions ranked because I was using those quite a bit. I already feel like I have a good grasp on what those abilities are going to be like. So please come in a few days to check out that video. Thank you. If you stayed to the end of the video, you are a Giga Chad. Thank you. Anyway, that's enough. Without further ado, I'll let you go on with your day. Please have a great day. And peace out, RPG nerds. I'll see you in the next Octopath video.